Welcome back to Build It Faster. We are your hosts, Mike and Joe, and today actually, I'm really excited about this. I was moving real fast on our work with instant coffee, or no, I guess we're calling it something else. We'll get into that. And I did some stuff, and then you did some stuff, and we're building it
That's
faster
right.
than ever.
Yep.
And before we talk about what we even built, we'll probably touch on it a little bit. Don't want to get too in the weeds. I'm kind of dying to hear about your perspective of what it's like to work on this project as a PM as well. But you're also kind of playing. You're starting to play dev a little bit in there. So just talk to me. What was your experience in the last week, I guess?
I think you made it, well, you and Claude made it really easy for me this time around. And for anybody who doesn't know this, you and I have worked on development projects in the past. I think Littlefoot being the most prominent that comes to mind. And at the time, quick reflection, I had you build like Git tools into the CMS that we were building because I
Build
was
you a
so
little GitHub in the tool. Yeah, we shouldn't have done that.
such a bad idea. And that's like I honestly have nightmares at night about doing that to you. It's incredible that you even did that. Like I owe you, my loyalty for life pretty much just for that alone, I think. But it was a lesson learned going into this. I learned lessons that I brought into this. And obviously, like I said, Claude made it a lot easier for me to take this stance. But I was like, I don't want you to build anything special for me. I just want to do it the way it's supposed to be done. So you figure out the way that it's supposed to be done. You tell me what that is, and I will follow that process. I'll tell Claude to follow that process, and it'll be fine. And it has been fine. I kind of started on my own saying like, hey, Claude, how do we deploy stuff in this project? And it kind of came up with like a how we work kind of thing. And I sent that to you to reflect, review. I didn't really intend for that to be the canonical how we work. It was supposed to be, supposed to be provocative, I guess.
It's a pitch, right? You were pitching. This is when you were pitching it. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
here's how we might work.
Yeah, right. Something like that. And anyway, now with a collection of MD files, I couldn't even name them off the top of my head. I think at least my robot is aware of how we should be kind of proceeding through our software development lifecycle. I sent you some messages while I was developing because I was like, I can't remember if you told me just to go crazy and start merging stuff, but like I'm merging stuff. I mean, we're using GitHub. So if you don't like it, we'll go back to something where you did like it. But I was actually going crazy. You told me to go crazy, I went crazy. And I was having a lot of fun with it. I'm actually really happy with where the UI landed.
It's better.
And yeah, and definitely some design decisions and stuff still to be made, and I have no problem with that. I took the liberty of making a few decisions in the name of making the changes I was trying to make, but overall, very seamless. I think that there were a few times where I'd tell Claude like, okay, cool, I'm happy with that, and then it would sit there, and I'm like, push the PR, bro. Come on, this is where we push the PR and push the PR, and then I'd be like, dude, it's not deploying. What are you doing? And he's like, oh, sorry. So we've had to smooth things out, and he's added some extra steps to memory, and now it's pretty smooth. Now, if I'm like, I like this, let's go for it.
There's a
like,
GitHub skill. Sorry,
there's
a GH skill in there that I thought I told it to put in the agent. Sorry.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can follow up on that later. But
yeah,
the TLDR is like, it is smooth for me. Very smooth. I didn't have to learn much. I don't feel that I had to ask you for much. And, I was having a lot of fun really fast, like really, really fast. Maybe not quite as fast as I should. One little point to bring up that if it brings anything immediately to mind, great, or we can talk about it later or offline. But I was like actually making a change and then literally waiting for like a deploy to my dev environment before I tried it. I don't know if there's a step in between there where I should be kind of like looking at something visually before doing that, but it takes a sec. I know in the past I'd kind of like, you can make a code change and then like see it right away and ooh, I don't like that, kind of go back. This felt like for very small changes, it felt like kind of a long wait for like hold on, I don't like that color. Let's change the color real quick. Where I felt like maybe if I thought about my environment set up differently, I could have played with things a little bit more quickly, but that it wasn't a big sticking point. It was just an observation.
So a couple of comments on the SDLC, and then I do actually want to hear about, even though it wasn't a fast cycle time for you because you had to like push and then even merge to see your changes deploy over time. And I want to talk about that, what you wound up doing, some SDLC commentary. The way I have it set up now is you could just run npm install npm run dev. Like if you asked your clanker, how do I get this running locally? I think it would have spun it up local and you would have been going to town. And not just going to town, you would have gone to town with Claude and told it to look at what it did.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it could just self iterate.
I,
So there
well,
is
I
indeed
was
a local
taking
host.
a lot of little screenshots, like a lot of little screenshots. So I could say like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like this element here, I don't like the way that this looks, change this. And it seemed to respond really well. I don't know if maybe I was doing more than I should or burning tokens faster than I should, but
Whatever.
whatever. It was cool. It is funny, quick aside that, we have these limits, at least in Claude Code. I don't know that every provider is doing it this way, but it's like you have your session limit and then you have your weekly limit or whatever. And it's like, man, you really got to be kind of like, it's like, I have 3 hours right now to throw at this. And I'm going to burn through my entire session limit right now. And it's like, come on, I've used a sliver of my weekly limit, but like, this is the moment that I have to work on this. Get off my back. Well, that was just a moment that I had.
That's
Fun
funny.
to reflect
I mean,
on.
so I actually got a codex sub, and anytime I slash status, I have like the 5 hour and the
Mm-hmm.
weekly. And
Mm-hmm.
like I'm getting pretty good with my 5 hour, but I'm working through my weekly. I'm probably gonna run out by like Thursday or Friday. So it's a funny difference because with GitHub Copilot, what you would do, this is what I was using the month prior and the prior before that. What you would do is, well, you would cheat them out of their tokens. I had unlimited Opus for like months. It was amazing.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had to change all of their stuff because that was never gonna work.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Well, in any case, very fun development process for me. And
Tell me more about the development process. Yeah, I know it maybe took a sec to iterate through, but tell me more. You talked about the screenshots. What else did you wind up reaching for?
yeah, well, first of all, I was like, I'm really starting to get in my head about like how issues work and issue tracking works. I see now, it's funny because like Josh, not even being a PM, was kind of thinking about this, and it wasn't easy for me to comment on it. But now I feel like we could have a more interesting conversation. At work, I use like Notion, and we have very elaborate kind of task tracking and project planning and stuff. And the speed that we're moving, we're not using any of that. Everything's just right there in GitHub. We're using GitHub Issues, and I'm like not even touching the issues. I'm like letting the robot move the issues for me. Like, you tell me what PR, solve what issues, you move it, get it out of my way. I don't care. And then, of course, I did a whole bunch of UI development last night that had nothing to do with really any of the issues. I think it kind of closed one of the issues, but I went down kind of this rabbit hole, and I wasn't like creating tickets for the things I wanted to do. I was just like raw developing, and that just made me want like, what are issues for? I guess maybe it's for things that it's for setting intention for the future and for gathering some context that can be used when you're ready to start. And basically, I'm thinking about issues much more in the terms of how a LM is going to respond to it than how like a person is going to respond to it. Like, I'm not reading these tickets, bro. They're the robot wrote the tickets.
It's a memory system.
It is literally a memory system. That's a great way of putting it. It's a memory system that can be organized such that you can realize, your project ends that you want. So I don't really have any specific like, this changes this specific thing is something I'm going to do differently about it now. It was an observation I wanted to kind of call out. And I'm glad that this came up because I actually want to ask you a question, which is basically just, what did you mean by that? Because originally, I know when we started talking, you were like, I want to be I want to be like issue oriented, I think is the term that you use. And then like, I can't remember when, but a day or two ago, you messaged me and you're like, I don't know. I feel like we've got like too many issues or something. And I wasn't really sure what you meant by that. You were talking about the granularity of issues. And so I'm curious if you can comment on like your feelings about our use of issues and how they should be used and at what granularity. What do you think?
I love this. So, and a lot of this is just me trying to figure out what I even want because, in my day to day at my job, I'm so alone. I am just by myself just for months. Just
not me.
But they're still paying me. But so I want to offer. So here's something that I had done. You had this big plan, and then it was broken into many, many, many issues.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
not that many. Say what many, many, many is, just for anyone listening. I felt like it was maybe like 15 issues or something.
I thought there was like 30 issues. It might have been less.
I don't know. You closed more than I opened. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Anyway,
I just want to get
over the course of months.
A figure of scale. Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, so I mean, let's just talk about just the impact, right? Because so I went in there. Basically, it was just we had just talked about it, and the issues are more of an agent memory system. I also thought, and so I came in there, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do next? And I was like, well, I know what I need to do. I need to make it so that Mike can play too. That's what I'm just going to go in there and do it. And so I was like, hey, go look at my issues.
All of my issues, made your own plan.
Go look at the issues and tell me which one of these is what I think I want to do. And it was like 98. I was like, great. read 98. And then here's what's about to happen. And then I pasted it, the research I did with ChatGPT. And then I gave this thing the GitHub CLI. I gave it the G Cloud CLI, the Google Cloud CLI, and I set up a Build It Faster project in there. And I gave it a token. No, I told it to use Terraform and Cloudflare API with Terraform to just fully manage just all of the infrastructure as code, right? So I'm like, you have access to everything that you need to fully realize this SDLC. Go. And it did. It moved all of my life's work into a folder called archive. All right. I extracted the P2P happy path. All right. It spun up a bunch of infrastructure. All right. It set up a bunch of DNS tunnels. All right. With Cloudflare, we can get into the specifics later. And then set up a whole SDLC where if you open a branch, Mike, and you make a PR and you label it deploy Mike, pushes to that branch will deploy to your Mike environment.
Super sweet, dude.
That's sweet. Really cool. Super sweet.
Yeah.
And actually, I gave you instructions where you can configure it to put it in your Google Meet. I don't know if you tried that yet, but we can talk about that in a bit.
I haven't. That's definitely a next thing for me.
But it works in Google Meet, dude.
It would deploy. I could compare to like the shared development environment, so I could kind of like I could compare to my changes. And I also love that like CI stuff would run in Claude Code, so it would just like tell me how it was running, and as soon as I saw it flip green, I could just go refresh and make sure everything was good to go. Okay, except for the times when the deploy failed, and that was when I was yelling at Claude like, how could you let this happen? Go check. What are you doing? You're embarrassing myself against myself here. You just embarrassed us both.
That's amazing. That's amazing. But so I haven't lost the thread here. Okay, let's talk issues, because at the end of the PR, I don't know what I fulfilled from what issue, man. I was just like, listen, I know in my heart what needs to be done here, okay? And so I got it done, all right? And it looks great. It's wonderful, actually. ChatGPT would not let it go. I was like, no, I want to have it based on how the branches are named. It's like, you're stupid. That's stupid. Use labels. And I'm like, fine, we'll do it your way. And it's a really good idea. Good idea, ChatGPT. But I want to offer, and then I'll give you a turn, so I was like, I don't know what of the issue scope this actually delivered on. And so at the end of my PR, I was like, go reconcile the issue state.
That's right.
It read all of them and made a bunch of comments and closed some shit. And I didn't even read it.
I love that. Yeah, I built a skill. It does more than just that, but the skill is a wrap up skill. So whenever I'm done with like a big session, I just say wrap up, and it updates the PRs, it updates memory, it updates like all the stuff, so that the next session is a nice clean start.
You made a wrap up skill?
Yeah, you want it?
Well, hold on. You made a wrap-up skill during your instant coffee work?
Yes.
Well, Mike, we're going to start advertising our skills repository.
There you go. I did share a couple skills for free with Goldbelly because I was so excited about
how
effective it was.
Well, you can share them for free, but that's our IP. Okay. we're gonna make an open source repo, listener. Yeah. Okay, you heard it here first. The Build It Faster skills repository.
There you go.
I'm going to do that today.
There you go. Yeah, cool. Because my adversarial check skill and my wrap-up skill are two that I use constantly.
Dude.
Anytime I finish, like I would finish and then I would like say like run, the adversarial skill to make sure that everything in the ticket lines up with everything we just built and, go. And it's cool because adversarial skill works on anything. I use it when I'm making a ticket. I'm like, go look at all of the stuff, all of the context that I gave you. And my adversarial skill spawns a bunch of sub agents to basically, it's what you described to me at one point, which is like only instead of just one, it spawns like multiple hole pokers and then like one to address all of the holes that were poked. And it does a good job of kind of like, this is important, I'm going to address it automatically. This is something I just want to mention to you. And these are things that like, don't worry about that. It does a decent job.
Man, that's great. And you can find that at the Build It Faster skills repository. Man, that is exciting.
Yeah, that's right.
By the time I post this, it'll exist. I'm cutting that part out.
Sure. Yeah. Good point.
So man, I love that.
But I have more to say. About... So because you said you hadn't lost the thread on issues, there's actually a thread that was spawned off of, which was like what were you doing? What was it like? And issues were a part of that. So I would tell Claude like, okay, go evaluate the issues and tell me what we can work on, like what's not blocked. And that brings to mind something I want to say, like issues, not just as like a memory system, but also as a dependency, like part of the memory is it manages the dependencies. It was really helpful to me to know like what I could get started on and what I should wait for you to land before I can get started. For example, like I created a invite button, but it doesn't like do anything because I needed like your token stuff coming out of Meet. Like I needed some of that to land in order for me to like make that stuff work. And Claude told me that. It was like, yeah, we can make the button. We'll work on the UI and then we'll hook everything up later once Joe's whatever PR lands. I was like, okay, cool. So that was really helpful. There was one time when it said like, oh, we can't start in this because Joe has to do this other thing. And I'm like, I don't see that reflected on the relationships in the issue. What are you doing? Fix that. And it went, it was like, okay, and I'll check the rest of the issues too, boss, my bad. And it went and checked and it was like, now I'll update memory and make sure like we never forget dependencies again. And we're always updating relationships between issues. So that was really cool. And yeah, so first I would evaluate the issues. And I didn't enter like plan mode or anything like that, but I was basically plan moding a little bit. And I was like, okay, well, what should we do? And how do we kind of want to tackle it? And then once I had a decision made, I had burned up maybe like 30% of my context window. So I started a new session, but I grabbed what was, the end of that session. I also included messages from Slack. I'd just copy paste and dump it in. I know I could like use the Slack connector, but I was moving
Slack
quickly.
connector, I'm adding that to my list. That's a great idea.
Oh, dude, I use it at work all the time.
What am I doing?
I'm dropping in Slack links all the time. I'm like, read this whole thread, or I'll say, read just this message, or read this message and the ones after it, or I'll say, have subagents go read the thread and then come back and summarize for you. I use it all the time.
You are.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
finding away. And I'll have it go. You can. I haven't done this except for some specific use cases, but I have a buddy who has it go send Slack messages all the time. So anyway, you can have it like go actually do stuff, but I'm like, yeah, whatever. I still type those by hand at the moment, like a caveman. So I bring in all this context, I get a little plan together, and then I take the plan and I say, thank you. And I go talk to a different agent. Basically, I start a new session. I'm still getting used to whether or not I want to use like Sonnet or Opus. One of the videos that I was just watching recently, I think you may even shared it with me. He said like, right now I'm basically having Sonnet do implementation and then I'm having Opus do the review because I feel like the review is more intense and you want the smarter guy reviewing. But neither here nor there. I'm kind of trying to be mindful of what caliber of model I need to do the thing that I'm doing. And once I get started, it's hard not to snowball into more things. So like in my head, I was like, oh, I'll use like one session per feature. But then I'm like 20 features in. I'm like, yeah, we're only like 40% deep into this context window. And like, we've got all this great progress. Like, let's move on to the next thing. But I am mindful of the context engineering here and the context management and trying to find useful stopping points. And when I do see a useful stopping point, I'll use my wrap up skill and then I'll open up a new session. What I have done is I've used my wrap up skill and it's like, cool, thanks. Like, have a great day. And I'm like, one more thing. What should we maybe work on in the next session? And then I sort of cheat and use like a little bit more context from that session to make my next plan. And then I grab that and I go and I start a new session. So I wrapped up like 3 times or so last night. But that was just because I was kind of spawning a new session and starting kind of like a new thread of changes and ideas that I wanted to make. Overall, I felt like it was pretty efficient and I was just super happy with the performance and the changes that it was making.
So you mentioned memory files. This is something I've noticed on my projects at work. It'll be like updating my knowledge about how you like to work. Well, that's a little selfish.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, that's great that your bot knows how to do the right thing, but now mine's just going to trip over those landmines,
You're saying,
it's a shtick that you want to bake them into skills.
Yeah, shared memory and skills and stuff, yeah. And I did at one point say, because of what I noticed it was doing is it would say like updating memory, and then it would say like creating whatever the hell .md. And I was like, bro, that's like a one-liner that I said, like, don't, it'd be like, don't forget to tag it for a deploy. And it would be like, okay, cool, creating like tag for deploys.md. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing here? And then it let me know. It was like, okay, well, actually memory is just like a list of MD files. And it's kind of like it's just an indexing method. And it's like actually having a whole bunch of really small MD files is more efficient technically. I was like, okay, whatever, fine. If you say so, that's fine. But then that made me think, I was like, well, you should probably go clean that shit up. So I was like, okay, go into memory and like optimize the memory. Look for stuff. I was like, look for stuff that's like
I know better than
redundant
you.
and
Optimize
stupid.
that memory, dumbass.
I was like, I don't know.
The
It's probably a
memory
bunch of
was your
redundant
idea,
shit
but
in
you're
there.
doing it wrong.
Yeah, I go clean it up. I don't even know. And it did. It was like, I made some changes. Like,
Clean
good idea.
yourself up.
Of course, it told me it was a great idea. So anyway, I did that. Yeah, managing memory is a whole thing that is fun to experiment with and try.
Well,
but I dig into it anytime. I'm like, why have you? If it forgets something once, I'm like, make sure you don't forget it again. If it forgets it again, I'm like, let's reevaluate your entire life and how you even remember things, because this is pissing me off. You know.
Well, so to put a finer point on it, why not put that content in the agents MD or the? I actually don't know if Claude reads agents MD. That was one of my problems. I got to go check out.
Yeah, we should check. I'm sure it could. I'm sure it could tell itself too. You know.
Well, it might not bother because they want to own the like way it's designed or something. In any case, I would expect things that are not you specific, that are in fact repo specific, like an agent working on the project. I would just caution generally for this and for your own work, memories often ought be a repository instruction or skill.
Okay.
In either the agents MD or Claude.md or in some skill.
Not something local. It should be in the repo, basically.
Yeah, it's cool. Like keeping your own notes.
I could go to Claude and be like, I could go to Claude, like, right now and just be like, hey, all that cool memory stuff, let's find a way to get that in the repo so that it's usable for everybody, and we'll see what it
You like recommends. Go in right after it's done cleaning up and you're like, you know what? Never mind. So the other point I wanted to share on issues before we get into maybe what we actually built, because we're about at the halfway mark here.
Sure.
One thing I want to work my way up to, and I've been kinda starting to do it, like at work. And our buddy Alex does this, and I'm jealous of his maturity in this dimension. The way he works is he opens 1 to 2 days worth of issues with a dependency graph and some kind of label to mark it as ready for an agent to work on, and he keeps the agent fed. He's just like, here's a realizable scope, do it until it's done, and then when that's done, here's the next thing, and then he turns around and does other stuff.
How does it not run out of context, like window? Does it just know to spawn a new thread, or does it compress or whatever?
One, he, as you know, works for one of these model companies, and two, I believe he's using Goal or some other methodology where it just runs the agent in a loop, and he's not running out of context because it kind of doesn't matter.
Okay, because it's kind of a fresh context every loop.
It's just like, run until you're done, run until you're done, run until you're done.
Yeah.
You finished? Great. And if it goes like this, as long as it winds up here, great, done. Good job.
Right.
Next
So the right
issue.
way to think about it is that it's many, many, many smaller sessions, not like one gigantic session.
But he's not in there saying, read that issue and now do this step and let me see how you're doing.
Right. It's
and
like
no, you're not quite done yet.
Spawns the next one. It's like daisy chaining your sessions.
But you're not demanding that it make an attempt. You're demanding that it self-evaluate that the completion criteria is in fact done. So, what you're doing with design,
so it's like, if not done, spawn a new session, keep going. And at the end, check if you're done. And if you're not, spawn a new session, do the next step, or figure out what the next step is and do it.
Yeah, and the work you were doing is incompatible with that, because what does done even mean? You don't know.
But I was
kind of
figuring
discovering what you're doing, and so
exactly.
that does not lend itself.
I wasn't working from designs or anything, which would have, had I shown up and been like, here's a Figma file, like it would have probably been extremely fast. But like, I'm not. That is an area of growth for me, is like getting to a better state for like wireframing and design, so that I can just hand that to Claude and let it do it, rather than like one tiny feature at a time.
It's fun to iterate like that, but it is interesting, right? That you see what I'm talking about, and I do see things going that way, where the next rung of maturity is about specification and evaluation criteria, where you're more instead of you running the agent, you're growing the solution.
That's right.
So I'm trying to get there too. I'm not there. It's just a pattern I'm starting to see. We talked about our new skills repository. That's very exciting. You can see that down in the description. Hit us up on Twitter if you wind up using that or have any questions. Dude, skills are so popular right now. If we had this call like 3 months ago and we began with the skills guy, man, it would have been, that's okay. So what did we actually do though? It's been a week. What'd you do yesterday? What'd you do today? And are you blocked? And how's your mom?
Yeah. Mom's getting married on Saturday.
Wow.
True story, but just funny that you asked. Let's see. So you've been hooking things up. From my perspective, what you've done for me is basically create a development environment and made it so that I can iterate on the UX UI. And you're still working on kind of getting things working in Meet, which will unblock me on, I guess, the invite feature. that is one thing that's just kind of looming over me, is like, what's the experience going to be like? I just want it to be as frictionless as possible. I don't want to, and it's so obvious that I never had to, but I don't want to like get into a call and be like, okay, everybody click here and go here, and you're going to search for this. You're going to start, like, it's dead on arrival. But I would be fine with, I get there, I click a button, and then something pops up on everybody's screen that's like, you want to join? And you're like, sure. And you click it and it adds the add-on for you and you're in. And that was what, the robot recommended. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Dude, I noticed that too, right? You're referring to in Google Meet that you have to go through and like find it and then find the add-on and then go here and then click it. But there's some
me to do
action function.
Yeah, right. It's fine for me to do that as the moderator, but I can't be asking participant. That's going to
hate it.
Absolutely. So it's got to be a button click or two for them, and it's got to just put it in front of their face and be like, click this, now click this, now click. Okay, we're good.
Dude, the thumbs up and down, I can already see like is going to be a nice integration actually. Ooh.
So, I stuck a invite participants button in there. And at first it was like up at the top of the website. And then I was like, okay, we clearly need like to stick some things into like a menu here, the things that you're not always using, but might want. And so we have invite participants in there. We have copy mobile link. I've moved in there. I updated some of the icons too. Copy as markdown is in there. And then clear votes and clear all cards are in there. And both clear votes and clear all cards, I don't know if you tried to use either of them, but they also give you a confirmation when you click.
Nice.
It's actually pretty sweet. You should try it. It's pretty nice.
I think I read that it was in line. You click it and it's like, are you sure?
Yeah, you literally, you click the button and then it shows up with like absolutely red button that you can click again.
I see. Cool. This is the missing link. See, I've never been happy with it, but that's very satisfying.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I made I didn't like how things were jumping around when we were switching between votes and updated. So I made it like a simple toggle with a couple of icons. So when you hover over them, you can see what they mean. So it's like, once you know what they mean, it's muscle memory and you don't need the words. You just flip between them. Vote count is basically still there.
Once we launch audience, by the way, we'll bother sharing screen. I just don't want you visiting the damn website. It's not ready yet. All right. It'll be ready soon.
Yeah. Like I said, I changed some icons. Like I changed the settings icon. I like this one a little bit more. I think it's just clearer. The last one reminded me of like stitches. Anyway, I added a title up at the top, kept it really simple. We can turn it into a logo or something later. And I scooted over your kind of details about like participants and peers and the Meet identity. I scooted all those up to the top right. So nice, clean, simple bar at the top. The start button got an overhaul, and I know we need to talk about that a little bit. I deliberately know that I sacrificed some functionality there, and whether we bring it back or how we would bring it back is something I have to think about. But I really, really wanted it to be like you hit the button and you start talking. And we had another like promote to top button that I just felt there were a few things where I was like, we have a couple buttons for basically the same thing, or we're doing this in too many places, or this is redundant. So I tried to clean some of that up. So at least right now, one more thing about inviting participants, I know I tucked away the button. And if you click the button, it'll be like invites were already sent. And if somebody new joins the call, it'll become available again for you to invite the new people. But if you haven't done any of that yet and you just show up and it's an empty board, instead of going to the menu, it just says right there, it says invite your team and add your first topic above. And it's a link to invite your team. So it's like the very first thing you see, you can click that. You don't have to go into the menu. You can go into the menu later if you need it again. Or if you already have cards or something like that, you can find it in the menu. So the add card button, I noticed, and I'm sure this was something else that you did deliberately and I changed it. So sorry, not sorry, I guess maybe. But the add card button right now by default, it's the add card button and it's there. I think you had intentionally had it where like it's focusing the input box so you can start to type. Maybe you didn't do that on purpose and it was just something I did or it did to me and then I reversed it. But anyway, the pitch and agenda item used to be auto-focused, or it was at one point auto-focused. And I just didn't like it because it was too busy. There were like kind of too many things going on right when you join. And so I made it so that it's just the add card button and you can click it and then it opens up pitch and agenda item. I also felt like it wasn't really easy to delineate the different elements because we are using a very kind of like flat sort of grayscale design. And so I added this nice green outline to the pitch and agenda item. So when you're adding a topic, it's a little more obvious that that's where you're focused and that's what you're doing.
.bif.dev. Okay, because I don't.
Check it out.
The green.
Yeah, check it out. And then you see that?
Wait, you're in here too. Did you see my votes?
That's funny. Yeah.
Oh, look, the peer-to-peer thing works. We should use this for this call.
Yeah, it all uses like the same DB. It's pretty funny. I was noticing that because as I was looking at the dev and then I was looking at like the mic environment and both of them were using the same data. So when I add stuff to the mic environment, I see it in the dev environment, which is honestly a feature, not a bug for me, because I was able to compare the same behavior without having to replicate it and do it twice.
Oh, you got the agenda. God, this looks so much better than what I put together.
Try out merge as well. So start typing something in the pitch and agenda and then go down and click the merge button and it highlights like the one that you're going to merge into in purple. So that's kind of nice. So yeah.
There's a little merge button.
Yeah, it's a lot cleaner.
Oh, that looks so good.
It shows up with the other controls there. I also noticed when it was collapsed in a sidebar, we lost our functionality where like the timestamp switches over to the buttons. It would just auto show the buttons. And researching that, it was like, oh, well, that's because for mobile, you don't have hover. And I was like, fine, on mobile, keep it the way that it works. But when we're in a side panel in Google Meet, we're not on mobile. And so make it behave the way it's supposed to behave because they're taking up too much real estate here.
Interesting.
So it did that. So now it detects if it's in Meet, and if it's in Meet, then it'll display just like it does in the web version. But if it's mobile, it'll do the thing that it was designed to do.
I love that, man. Yeah, you can see why I reached for it, but that's a good where it can delineate.
Yep.
And I love the colors, by the way. I don't know if I said out loud, but I love the colors.
Oh,
I feel like it turns it into because it is very flat, and I kind of love it. And the being able to reach for a green border is such a useful indicator that it just pops.
Yeah, because we don't have a lot of flashy colors. So when you put a color on there, it's like, oh, that is where my attention needs to be right this moment.
And I like the merge for the same reason. Like, this is where you're working. This is an affected element. It's landing for me. Very cool.
The timer for the same reason when you start. I love that the color bar, one of my favorite features. I love that you built that. The color timer bar. Same thing. It's an attention grabber. I think that it just like makes it very obvious where we're at, what we're doing, what we're discussing, how much time is left, all in this one little, border bar, which is really sweet. I had to fix up the button after I did all these changes to make it go back to behavior where when it gets to 0, it's a big blinking red button. I changed the stop on the issue itself, on the topic itself. I changed that to a drop.
That's way better.
Because of what it's actually doing. Like it's literally, you're dropping the topic. Let's drop it. Let's drop it. Fine, let's drop it. And it drops it back to discuss. And then I changed the icon for next. So it's not also a play icon. It's actually a next icon, which is more obvious.
Little stuff like that matters so much.
Yeah.
And it was cute, for example. I want to emphasize that it's cute that you said, let's drop it. Like you should be able to use these standard idioms deliberately in the button. I love it.
Right. So, the add time, if you hover now, it says add 2 minutes. If you hover on the start button, it just tells you start. And I like this in its current form. I'm really happy with it. As you know, I sacrificed we can use this as a timer when we're not discussing something.
You did.
And I did that specifically to get when I click start, we start talking. So it promotes the top automatically as soon as you click start. So it's one button. It's like, we're going to start talking. You guys ready? Okay, start. And it promotes top. And you just start talking.
Okay.
So
okay.
So that's why that button disappeared. That's why your promote top button disappeared, is because all of that functionality is actually in the start button now.
Condensed into that
top. Yes, it's in the start button now. And and then like you said, the add 2 minutes button isn't available unless you are actually following the time. So it's like you can't just start with a 2 minute timer. You have to start with 5 and then start adding 2 to it. And then if you stop it, it resets basically to 5. So that's a current behavior. I felt like that was a good MVP launchable behavior, and then we can iterate on that. I also, if you notice, I made the button a little bit simpler. I made it kind of what my original vision was, which was sort of like a single button, like a button with a little sidecar on it. It just felt cleaner. It feels like it's one control that has two sort of, I don't know what word I'm looking for, features, two different behaviors.
Functions?
And then the add card button was originally it was like this sort of dotted line outline, but it looked too similar if I dropped. It looked too similar. You had no current agenda item was all dotted, and then you had add card was kind of dotted. So I made the add card button more obviously like a grayed out button, and when you hover over it, it's a dark button that matches the rest of our theme. And
the dashed lines. It strikes me now as obviously indicating that something is missing.
Yeah, right.
Whereas
something
that
belongs here, which no current agenda item is perfect for.
It really is. It really is.
But wasn't great for the button. So the button's good now. So anyway, that's it, man. I'm really happy with all the features. I don't know if I missed.
This is tight.
I don't know if I missed anything. It is pretty tight. I definitely was, as I was designing. Oh, I added the word agenda. because when you
It
start
matters.
when you start finishing topics and then archiving them and stuff, like it's obviously you have agenda and then archived. It's a clear delineation. I loved the design for archived. I didn't change anything except for the merge. I just made a nice clean. I made it match the designs for the other control, or not the merge, but the archive. I made it match like the start discussion and edit buttons in the agenda items. So it's just the same pattern and it feels clean. But that is officially it. Those are all the things that I did. And I tried to make sure that I kept the spirit of what we were doing here, which is like super simple. We're not over designing it. We're not adding a whole bunch of crazy elements. We're keeping our simple, like single column layout. And I'm just super happy with where it landed. Like I'm in a position where I'm like, let's get like invites and sessions stuff working in Google Meet. And I'm like ready to use this freaking thing. I don't know if it's overly ambitious to try to use it tomorrow with everybody. We could just use it in browser outside of Google Meet tomorrow. I think should just do that. But I also know that we have to add books, and we're not at the right point in book club to use it. We're not in the right point in book club
they're
to
going to use the
awkward
old
timing. Yeah,
they got to use the
ancient
old Clean
version.
Coffee, the ancient version of Clean Coffee.
That's right.
Which is version like 4, but 2 versions behind.
Yeah, that's funny, and that's fine. That's fine. We don't have to be ready for tomorrow. It was silly but if we could be, if we wanted to be, we could just say, "Hey guys, go to this link. Let's rock and roll." And maybe even if it's not in Meet yet, already functions great. I love that we kept the functionality. Ultimately, I don't know if we ever talked about it together. And then I swear I'm gonna shut up and then it's all you for the next whatever long. But keeping the copy link, the copy mobile link in there, I think was really good. And I'm glad that we did that. And I'm glad that I flip-flopped on the like, we should go Meet only and not have any kind of standalone thing, because specifically for mobile, especially, I just felt like it was going to be a lot smarter and easier because the little Meet add-ons aren't going to work on your phone. And so we can just say like, oh, here you go. Here's the link for our buddy on mobile, or drop it in the agenda, or drop it in the event, details. Someone can just click on that, open it in their phone, and they can be in the Meet talking to us in Google Meet and also be looking at the board in their browser. It's just a simple way to get it to be mobile friendly. Also, we get for free, if somebody's using like literally any other video utility, they can still use this. So fine.
And so
that was a couple
comments.
Thank you for letting me get all that out.
No, this was great. This was great. It's exciting that you're excited and that you felt like you could take those liberties, because you can, first of all, but that you felt comfort, that you felt the empowerment to do so. I think it's telling that I'm up for literally all of that, that we're aligned to that end. The start consolidation, very satisfying. I'll be curious for how it will go to like, all right, get your votes in. I'm watching the clock, so we'll see there too. Maybe there's even a separate affordance actually, where if there are no cards, no votes, maybe that button has a dual purpose. That could be interesting.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say what I've been doing in my practice, why I know it's a very selfish move, but when I've been doing retros lately, and the feature's right there in the thing that I've been using, I'm just like, yeah, guys, at the 7-minute mark, we're going to start, and I'm just looking at the clock, and a lot of it is because I'm letting people come into the room while also getting voting started and stuff. I'm like, hey, everybody, I'm just going to get started at the 10-minute mark. So let's get your votes in. We'll let people kind of continue joining. And I'll mention this again right before we get started. And so I just haven't been using the timer until I start discussing issues anyway. And it wasn't a big sacrifice for me, but I didn't even ask. I just went crazy. No, you told me I could break the whole thing and you'd be fine with it. So I
told you could break the whole thing.
Yep.
Okay, you absolutely can. You can also add a show QR code button. That would be cool.
Or maybe we could repurpose the +2-minute button where you said it's disabled right now. I don't know. Maybe we could repurpose that to where like the start button stays the start button, but you can just add time to nothing if you're not discussing anything. We can talk more about that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Thank you for the allowance there. God, what else were we gonna say? Okay, so for Meet, what remains for that is, now that I've got everything out here and you're moving, I would ask that you come up with a branch that isn't master, like branch off a master, and then just start using that branch with deploy mic, because I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff to the master branch to get it all the way into Meet, and we'll either then merge what you did, or I'll have my agent pull what you did out of there, or make you make another branch and have it migrate the work you did into the other one or something.
You're saying that because you're worried master will be like polluted or something? Like,
I guess I have the opposite problem. do whatever you're doing and don't change. And if I find that I'm ready to merge something into master, I'm either going to rebase what you've done and make sure my changes are compatible and then merge it, or the other way. I think that'll be fine. So no changes to recommend what you're doing, but there's a couple of things I'd like you to prioritize. I have, and maybe just tell your Claude to read the agent's MD.
Don't need to. We're gonna have a transcript after this call. It's part of the fun of what we're doing now.
Love it. Well, I'm curious if Claude is reading the agent's MD, or if I need to symlink a Claude.md to the agent's MD, because it is just a perfect instruction of everything that's supposed to happen. And one of those things includes how you get your mic URL into your Google Meet.
Nice. Okay.
Okay, so I've solved that. I have added your email to my Google Cloud as a permitted tester for these deployments.
That's freaking exciting. Okay.
You have yours, mine, and Stage available to you.
Dude, so that's already there. Like, I can already do that.
It's live right now. You want to see?
So what's missing in Meet?
Here,
if
let me
you've
actually
already rigged that up.
Let me actually do this. Here, let me close this. Make sure I won't regret showing you. No, it'll be worth it. Here, share screen. Allow window. Is this going to show here
URL?
a tab? There we go. Now you can't see the domain, huh?
Nice. There you go.
Right?
Well done. Oh, it's so pretty.
Boom.
Dang, should
I
have done this for the whole thing.
Well, I
but
didn't
it's
know.
Fine. It's fine.
Man, just look. Drop.
Yeah.
Card.
Yeah, it's really clean.
Merge.
Oh, go delete all the votes. Clear all
those
votes.
were just my votes.
Oh shit, not the. Oh, that's funny that still exists. That's cool. Fine, clear all the cards or the votes, whatever. They both work exactly the same.
Ooh.
What the shit? That broke on 2 lines. Okay, whatever.
I
Doesn't
don't
matter.
know. I don't
It's
know.
fine.
Figure it out.
It's fine.
Figure
Cool.
it out.
Thanks for the QA.
Yeah, dude. But so, if I go to, let me open up a Meet, start instant Meet, share this tab instead. Oh yeah, this is gonna work. Here it comes. Add-ons. We'll do yours.
Oh my god.
This is what it looks like in Meet.
Dude, this is insane.
But now, hey, question. What's it like to go to the chat? Well, you click this button, and you say, butts, and then...
How do you get back?
Shit, I gotta, click over here, and then I gotta click over here again. That kind of sucks.
That really sucks.
Do we stuff chat into here?
Like
Tempting.
Google's chat?
No, do we
Our
take
own
over
chat?
chat?
No.
Make a little chat button.
No, too confusing.
Too confusing, better to click around that much? It's really not that many clicks. It's something that stuck me and I knew you would hate.
We'll think on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have to ask Claude if it's sure a couple times or something about what our options are, because how is there not a quick way to flip from chat back to whatever app you were using?
Look at this though. How does that look though?
That's so good.
That looks real. Look at that. It fit. What does it look like when I
So Google confines everything we do to this little sidebar, right? So I can't stick a button in here somewhere, outside of that I can use to get back to it. What if we shoved a button in the main panel that reopens Coffee?
I haven't tested it, and once you get this stage working, you can have your Claude figure that out. No,
right.
You might not have permission to do that. In any case, it's something we should try. It's something we should try.
Right. Because I think that would be acceptable to me. If you open up chat, you're looking in chat, and then you want to get back to Coffee, just click the coffee cup and you're back to Coffee or whatever.
Right. There's surely some clever option, and in any case, I think the book club will tolerate it. They're going to sass you for it. They're going to sass you for it. It hurts. I don't know if you've. I don't know if you're ready.
3 buttons to. Yeah, I know. I know.
Well, are you going to be graceful about it, or are you going to be rude? All right, to our customers. All right.
It depends on whether they're right or wrong.
Nope. See, that's not. No, you gotta develop an iron heart here.
Yeah. No, you're inspiring. I've learned a lot from you. I'm excited to take some of that heat, and see.
Let's practice. Okay, I'm gonna say something really mean to you, and you have to say thank you at the end. All right.
Thank you for the feedback. Yeah.
You've done a bad job and wasted your time here.
Wow. Thank you so much for the feedback. I'll have to go talk to my clanker and figure out where to go from here.
That was perfect. You nailed it. That's
Yeah,
exactly how
thanks.
you're supposed to behave.
Perfect.
I also would have accepted I've opened an issue.
Nice. Yeah. I know that is like your iron chin. It's like, oh, thank you. I've opened an issue.
Man. And then you don't want to wait more than like 3 months to do the feature. Man. But hey, so how are you feeling? Was this a fun pivot? Are you looking forward to more? I feel like we don't have much time before this becomes available. I think it's going to be ready by the time we start the next book.
Yeah. I think the pivot was fantastic. I'm still optimistic. The only thing now that's left that has me, and it wasn't even a problem until you just showed it to me, was the chat thing. Definitely want to think about that. And I mean, it goes for participants or whatever too. I think there's a couple buttons that you can click on Google that'll take that side panel space from you. And if you want to get it back, how do we handle that? So that'll take some experimentation. Even if we have to stick with exactly what it is now, I feel like it's, like you said, it's negotiable for our beachhead, and we can figure out where to go from there. And then even if the whole thing, we end up deciding like the whole thing sucks, this whole meat plan ended up not panning out, which right now, by the way, it's freaking beautiful. I think it was the right idea. I am married. I think it is so wonderful. Good. Right. I'm married to the idea, but I'm willing to divorce it if we have to. And I think that we already also have a fantastic user interface if we have to go back to like a browser-based experience. I never want to build my own video app. I feel like it was just too much. It would have been too much effort to try to make that work and not complain about it. So I'm just grateful that we're willing to let that go for now in the scope of this project.
Something else. If you put a QR code on there, well, I could just pull the mobile up on just my phone and participate from my phone as a second display.
It's really cool.
For those that would want to do that, not that you have to.
Sure. That would be really cool too. So yeah, a lot of possibilities. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I feel really great about the development process right now as it stands. I'm excited to test this thing out actually in Meet now, because that was one I know I could have like messed with it. I could have like opened it up, and I could have made the viewport smaller, but I was
just hit F12 and then you click the mobile button, by the way.
Yeah, instead of 2 clicks, instead of 1 button press and a click, I just dragged all the way over to make it as skinny as I could and worked from that. It'll be nice to, though, have it in the exact precise Meet dimensions so that I can kind of evaluate the UI in those terms. Like the things like, oh, it squashed my shit and it made it jump to 2 lines. That's stuff that I'm going to be like more mindful of, and I'm probably going to tighten up some text in a few places, because I just not 2 lines unless it must be. I'm also not a massive fan right now of like when you're pitching an agenda item, it looks fantastic for the first line, and as soon as you get to the second line, I hate it because it starts getting weird and squishy.
Something else I hate that you didn't even realize that you hate is that the text is not vertically aligned with the add button. The text that you're typing does not have the same vertical padding.
Cute. Yeah, also the add and cancel button are kind of like thick boy compared to some of the others. I don't know. Yeah, there's little things. You know what else I noticed as we were talking is like, where is it? The freaking... Maybe it's because of like the scroll bar that ultimately pops up, but the agenda and archived width is like a couple pixels skinnier than everything above the agenda. I don't know if you noticed that.
Well, here,
on the left it's aligned. On the right, it's not.
Show me what we're talking about. We got 4 minutes. We got 4 minutes.
Okay.
Here, let me share that screen so everybody gets to enjoy.
Okay.
Here we go. Sharing the tab. All right, so I'm sharing the interface here. Now, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I still see it here even on the small. So if you look at the add card button and everything above it, you can see on both the left and right side, the borders are all perfectly aligned. Now
right here.
Compare it to agenda, you've got it's like a couple pixels skinnier from the right, and I don't know why. I didn't even notice. I will figure out why. What
have you done?
I don't know how that happened. I don't know if it was me. Yeah, no, I'll fix that. But
I'm going to censor that in the video.
That's hilarious. Yeah, definitely just made this explicit. But I think that it's something that'll probably be easy to fix. I don't know.
I gotta say, I am very impressed that we were able to pull off. This is not a lot of width, and I think it's
excellent.
Well, I'm just saying it's just such an innovation to have pulled off the single column lean coffee system. It does not exist. It's going to get ripped off immediately by the haters. Okay? But man,
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird. It kind of sounded like you had a plane that was coming in for a landing
it
in
kind
your
of feels
office.
like there's a plane trying to land in here. I'm like in the middle of a podcast, guy's mowing his lawn.
That's what that is. That's a lawnmower. What a rude guy. Well, yeah, man. I think that about does it. The only thing we didn't really talk about completely is like what's next. And did you already answer my question? Am I a fool? What is missing in Meet that you have to do? Because if I can already look at it, I can already iterate. Like, what can't I do?
You can iterate in Meet right now if you follow the instructions in the Agents MD. Ask your bot to walk you through the G-Cloud steps, and it should be able to explain how to do it. And if not, let me know.
Sure.
But I think you should be able to do it. And
it's not like it's gonna be like I refuse to read the file because that's an But anyway, go ahead.
It's just you just don't get it for free. You don't get to ask a question and it just gets shoved into the system context because that's how every other agent works.
Right.
But so, and I might just sim link Claude. What's left to do? You got to do those steps in order to register your Google account with those deployments that I've made, and then it's just a little iframe. It'll load anytime you make a new update. It'll load it in the Meet. And if you want to iterate quickly, ask Claude how to run your npm run dev. That was for the transcript.
I was already having to do that.
Well, then you have local iteration and everything was always fine.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I'm sure I was doing something wrong, but I'll take the transcripts. I'll go talk to Claude and be like, dude, come on. Oh, I was having to do it. Okay, you know when it was doing it? It was when I was trying to hook up the invite system and like get it to work. And I was like, what do I do? And it was like, oh, you just want to run it locally. And it kind of like sent me on a little bit of like a wild goose chase. And then it was ultimately like, oh, you want this to work with all the Meet stuff? Well, Joe's not done. So like, let him finish that. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, we'll leave it as a button for now. We'll move on. But is that the main thing that you're trying to deliver now for Meet is like the actual session management and like getting the users in there, like authenticated or if not that, then what or what else?
So you can use Meet right now. I'm actually going to see if I can make localhost work so you can rapidly iterate with
I know I can use Meet, but what are you working on for Meet now?
So the next thing that I want to do is make it so that the world can use it.
Okay.
But I don't think we're there yet, right?
Okay. Well, what do you mean?
I mean, are you ready for me to tell everybody that it's available? Like if random internet strangers start installing it, are you going to be disappointed?
Bro, I have to fix that like 2 pixel thing that I just told you about.
So we're not ready. We're blocked. We're blocked.
Yeah. No, okay. I get it. That's fine. No, and I'm not saying like, this is all hinging on you.
Chilling. I got nothing to do.
Yeah, but what I do need to do is I need to hook up that invite button and test it and make sure that it works because that to me is the major blocker. Is like, can we get people in here, click the invite button and everybody gets the thing on their screen that allows them to join.
Once you follow through on the G-Cloud steps, I believe I put in the Agents MD, you and me should be able to join Meet from our respective emails and we should both be able to use the Lean Coffee tool together.
Yeah, that's really
cool. We should both be able to open the mic deployment and just use the damn thing.
That's also really awesome. And, even for book club, I'd be willing to be like, okay, everybody, you have to install the thing. You wouldn't even, not just for book club?
No, I would do it for book club. Just open it in a separate browser. Don't go through a whole G-Cloud setup where I had you as a tester.
Well, they have to do that. Okay. I see what you're saying. That's what, that's the sort of barrier that we're up against right now is like, I have to be part of your special G-Cloud setup for us to use it together. We don't want to do that with literally anybody who's not the two of us.
ChatGPT told me not to.
Right. Okay. We don't want to do it with anybody who's not the two of us. And so that's what you're working on now. Simple.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what I'm waiting for us to have the comfort to follow through on.
Why wait? Because we don't have to tell anybody.
You said you weren't ready.
But I'm saying even if I'm not ready.
It's going to be on the marketplace and everyone's going to love the name and it's going to be very popular and we're going to lose control, Mike.
And
you've been telling people it's open source and it's not.
I need to fix you reminded me I need to fix some of our documentation.
Quit putting markdown files in the repo root.
Dude, I freaking yelled at Claude. Dude, I yelled at Claude. Now every single time I say make a PR, the very first thing it says is like checking what branch I'm on. And I'm like, yeah, you better, because if you do that shit, I've asked her again. Yeah, it was a whole thing. All right, I already scolded it. Okay.
No, like in the root of the repository, put them in a docs folder, man. You're making a mess of the root of the repository, the like files on the top level folder.
Good. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna tell it to do that too. That's good.
Bunch of shit. Mike thought.md. Put that in a docs folder.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I really like? I really like your decision log. That's pretty cool.
The devlog.
Dude, yeah, the devlog. That's really
Yeah.
cool. It just adds stuff to it when it thinks it should. I think that's great. I'm like, yeah, go add stuff to the devlog. That makes me feel good. You know what else feels good is my GitHub history right now. Yeah, I know. I see the time. That's pretty exciting too, though, is I'm like, I have a streak. I have a streak right now for like.
You got a streak, bud.
Yeah,
You got a streak, and it says Claude's also got a streak, but you got a streak. How fun.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. All right, but
yeah, let's wrap it up, bud. This is great. Looking forward to more. Later.
Yep. Later.